Hi, I'm Wes Allen with DM Tales, and this is, I think, my final reflection on GameHole Con. Let's roll it. GameHole Con is held in the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin. It takes place in the complex's exhibition hall with some spillover events in the nearby New Holland building. The setup has a great layout, and GameHole Con had no problem populating it with gaming rooms, lounges, and seminar rooms. It never felt cramped, though. I never had trouble finding a place to sit down in between sessions or interviews, and every room is really easy to find. Now, if GameHole Con continues to grow, and I have no reason to expect otherwise, I suppose they will need more space over the next 10 years or so. In that case, they may end up expanding into the adjacent Coliseum that's part of the complex. Parking at the convention was free, and there's a lot of it. Free parking is a huge boon for attendees and probably helps encourage day trippers who want to come down and do a bit of shopping in the vendor hall. All in all, it's a great venue for a convention. The main concourse has a ton of natural light pouring in, and there's a terrific balcony lounge for folks to go relax. Monte Games was actually set up right there in the balcony, and it was a busy spot. I loved how open the space felt and how fast I could get to one room to another. Even the next door pavilion was only a short walk away from the main building. That was cool. I will say that the Wi-Fi was pretty bad, and I could not figure out a way to get on their faster paid service to upload my videos, and that bummed me out just a little bit. But that's pretty much the only knock I have on the venue. The Alliant Energy Center has a number of hotels within walking distance to the exhibition hall, including one that's attached via an enclosed hallway. Access to housing in the GameHole's reserved blocks is handled via a housing portal, which I found easy to use. But I will say that getting into one of the nearby hotels can be difficult. When the portal went live this past spring, I was at the aquarium down in Camden, and I ended up hopping on about 5 minutes after it launched, and all those rooms were already snatched up. Now, I did grab a nice room several miles away from the hotel, but this necessitated me renting a car, which was a little bit of a bummer. It provided me with some freedom, though, but it was at the cost of an added expense that I really didn't want. I'm interested in how my experience would have changed had I booked one of the closer hotels, but I really don't have any complaints. It was a nice place that I was at. Traffic was never bad going to and from the convention site, and the route was straightforward. Free parking, as I said, was also a huge plus. I do know that rooms were opening up as the convention approached because people either changed plans or canceled, so I could have tried to get a closer hotel room if I wanted to, but I just kind of stayed put where I was. I will say the GameHole Con's housing portal is a huge plus. The process to make, alter, or cancel reservations is dead simple, and the whole thing was zero stress. GameHole attendees are, as a whole, relaxed, friendly, creative, and eager to play TTRPGs. And that last one is important because GameHole Con is the largest TTRPG-focused convention in the United States. I will say that at convention start, there were a lot of middle-aged white guys like me, but I noticed the tapestry of attendees shifted as the convention progressed, growing both younger and more visibly diverse. Now, if you've had bad experiences with older gatekeeping white grognards, you may feel some pause going to a convention where you suspect they'll be congregating. That isn't the case at GameHole. There were couples there with their children, as well as a lot of 20 and 30-somethings, and they were playing alongside old-school grognards who were not gatekeeping. Various geeky shirts were also everywhere, as you'd expect at a con, but it was everything from Daggerheart shirts to old-school TSR logos, which was a nice blend of old and new. TTRPG gamers also had a table there out in the concourse, and more than a few people were wearing some of the badge ribbons they were handing out. If someone goes to GameHole both looking for and offering welcome, I'd be shocked if they didn't find it. Now, no gathering of human beings is perfect, but my take on GameHole is that it's cozy. There's a great vibe, there's a ton of games, there's no shortage of folks who are both friendly and comfortable. It's really a cool setup. The on-venue food options are actually pretty good, which is an odd thing for me to say as my experiences with on-site convention food up to this point have been rather meh. The convention center boasts a combination coffee ice cream stand in the main concourse, which is where I got my daily caffeine. though I never did get to sample the ice cream, which bums me out a little bit. They also had 2 snack bars, which served basic stadium food, and these were about as expected. There were several food trucks set up outside the convention's second building, which were okay. I mean, they were better quality than the stadium food, but there wasn't a lot of stuff that I enjoy eating, so it was kind of hit or miss for me. One of my highlights was the stand selling pizza by the slice in one of the main lounge areas. Now, I'm from the Pizza Triangle, so I'm a bit of a snob about pizza, but the slices were good enough that I ate there several times throughout the convention. That was pretty nice. What was new for me were the bar stands that were set up in the venue, with no apparent restrictions on where alcohol could be consumed. In fact, during the one game that I ran, we took a break, and one player came back with a mixed drink. I thought that was kind of fun. I also didn't notice anyone overindulging, and on Saturday afternoon, I ended up drinking a spotted cow while editing some videos up in the Monte Games lounge. The beer was quite tasty, and it's not distributed outside Wisconsin, so I was glad I got a chance to sample it. Now, if I ever get to go to GameHole Con again, which is not likely, unfortunately, I'll also bring my own refillable water bottle because the convention has water coolers available throughout the venue that you could just refill off of. That is a really nice touch. All in all, while the food was more expensive than non-convention fare, I neither blew my budget nor did I go hungry, so that's a nice win. Aside from the games I played, I had a lot of fun throughout my time at GameHole Con. The fun started Wednesday afternoon when I let some folks from Page know I'd gotten to my room and they invited me to the main convention hotel to hang out. Ron Meschker, Phil Wirch, Chet Minton were there talking Page and meeting some folks as they checked in, and it was nice to sit down and hang out with some folks that I knew before the convention began. It set me at ease after a trip into unknown territory. I was also able to get some video with some of the Page crew at that meeting, and that was a huge bonus. My favorite get-together in the convention, though, was the Page reception. It was held at a little pub within walking distance to my hotel, and Ron was more than generous with his guests. I had an amazing time talking with some of the folks who are going to be heading to Page this coming year. One unexpected bonus was the arrival of 2 players from the Numenera game that I'd played earlier that day, and they also hailed from New Jersey. Jacob and Megan were great fun, and they were folks that kept popping up throughout my time at GameHole. Now, Friday night was my trip into the unknown, though. I headed to one of the official convention receptions and was immediately overwhelmed by the crowd. Now, thankfully, David Lapp from Pinebox Entertainment saw me kind of floundering, and I ended up chatting with him and one of Pinebox's artists for the better part of an hour. Turned out to be a great time, and I was excited to hear some of Pinebox's history and upcoming projects as we chatted. I almost bailed when I saw the crowd size, but I'm so glad that I toughed it out. I've been a fan of John Peterson for a while, so when I saw that he was doing a seminar with Michael Whitwer, I knew I had to get to it. And I was not disappointed. The two did a terrific job explaining how the academic field of TTRPG history first began and their hopes for where it's going. It was cool to hear how John was excited for the next steps in this particular historical field and how it will be someone else who makes the next key discovery. And every time I interact with the history of this hobby, I'm struck with how the everyone knows story is often really everyone misremembers this. And that was a light bulb which got turned on again at that seminar, so I really loved it. Free League did a short seminar on what's coming up over the next few months for the company, and they had a rather big reveal. They've acquired the rights for a setting from the early 2000s, which worked for the old Swedish version of Dragonbane, and they are re-releasing it for the world. Trudvang will be updated to be compatible with the current Dragonbane engine, and it looks like this is going to be Dragonbane's official setting moving forward. I'm kind of excited to see where the bits of the world we've already seen fit into the expanded setting. The folks at Freely were also kind enough to allow me to mic them up for their presentation, which is a bit of an experiment on my part. I can't wait to get some further updates from them at PAX Unplugged. Monte Cook has been busy the last few months. They just closed their backer kit campaign for the new Cypher update, and they've announced the coming of a campaign to update Numenera to the new Cypher version in the near future. MCG has a rather unique relationship with their fan base when that was on full display at GameHole Con. The folks in the MCG panel room knew each other, either from cons or the community Discord Cypher Unlimited, and that showed during the Q&A period. There was a familiarity to it. Now, that didn't mean all the questions were softballs, because folks had some real questions about what Cypher is doing and where it is going, and they want to know what it's going to look like in the future. And they asked those questions, and they pressed a little bit. But what it did mean was that there wasn't a lot of mistrust or hostility about the answers the panelists gave. It's a rather unique experience when people are tense about something. Speaking of Monte Games, my extended interview with Sean K. Reynolds, Shauna Germain, and Bruce R. Cordell was a highlight of the convention for me. We talked about Numenera, Cypher, and where Numenera might go as it gets updated. And check out the interview at that link right there, because they all did a terrific job. The last seminar I attended was on raising the next generation of nerds. Now, I had no idea what to expect in this one, but Steph from TTRPG Kids was going to be there, and I wanted to say thank you to them for being one of the first people I interviewed on the channel. Steph does great work, so go check out their page. And the seminar itself was focused on the panelists' experience raising neurodiverse children and how nerdy things tended to appeal to them. And it was interesting, and if I'm being quite honest, at points it felt a bit biographical. But overall, I felt the panel may have been a bit too conversational, because I didn't feel like I had space to ask any questions without feeling like I was interrupting a group of friends who were chatting. And I understand at the same time that this is really a me problem. It's the same thing I suffer when I'm in a big crowd doing chit-chat. Now, during my attendance prep, I made a deliberate choice to run only one game during the convention. Now, I enjoy running games. At home, I'm the forever GM, but because I was doing my media thing, I wanted to make sure I had time to play games. I was going to the convention, I wanted that experience. Now, I ended up running my Sentinel Comics RPG adventure, and it was a blast. The folks at the table picked up stuff pretty quick, and 2 of the players even played Sentinel Comics RPG regularly, so that really helped things out. Things during the game got desperate. I am getting the hang of letting the environment take a turn and just ruining everybody's day, and SCRPG villains are a blast both to create and run. They can do some wild things. The more I run Sentinel Comics RPG, the more I enjoy running Sentinel Comics RPG. If character creation was just a little bit shorter, this would be my go-to at all times. I mentioned this in a previous video, but I also ended up running my SCRPG adventure a second time using the streamlined superhero system, which I converted in about 5 minutes. See, I had found out that Jacob and Megan, those 2 folks from my Numenera game, were on my same flight. So I picked them up from their hotel so we could all head to the airport together, and we arrived at the gate about an hour and 45 minutes or so before boarding. Now, it so happened that there were some tables nearby, and I said, well, hey, let's go play a game. And we did. Another convention goer said hello as we were just getting started, and he ended up sitting down with us as well. Now, I have been made aware that this is not typical behavior for an airport, but it's exactly the type of thing I was hoping would happen at my hotel during the convention. Just walking through and seeing a pop-up game going on where folks could sit down and play. So that ended up being a wonderful highlight for me. If you find an opportunity to check out this wonderful convention, do so. I am bummed that I'll probably never get a chance to go again. But I've got once-in-a-lifetime memories to carry with me. I cannot recommend GameHole enough. If you get a chance, go. Thanks for watching this video, folks. If you enjoyed it, please consider hitting that like button, leaving a comment, and sharing it with others. All those things add up, and without them, DM Tales, it falls into the algorithm's abyss. And if you want to keep up with DM Tales, click that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because otherwise, well, YouTube has a tendency to hide videos otherwise. A special shout out to my coffee contributors who keep this channel running out of the kindness of their own hearts. If you want to help keep DM Tales caffeinated and making these videos, that link, well, that's right over there. And with the holiday coming, you may be looking for some fun gifts, so check out my merch store for some TTRPG related t-shirts and hoodies, including this one asking the eternal question: are we the bad guys? With my GameHole coverage concluded, I can dive into my Star Trek Adventures read-through, which will be my next review on the channel. Bit of warning, it's going to be a bit before I get to it because I just returned from my sabbatical and I'm getting reoriented to this typical rhythm and making sure that everything gets done that got missed while I was away. But I will get to it as soon as I can, I promise you. And I'm doing that because as soon as I'm done that review, I get to dig into Daggerheart, followed by Dolmenwood, which has finally arrived. These books look awesome. Now, for the latter game, I'm going to be focusing more on the campaign setting than the mechanics, because that's really the star of the show, and I thought that would be a nice change of pace. Oh, and I've also got Savage Rifts there on the shelf. It mocks me, and that has to be dealt with. I'll also be at PAX Unplugged later this month, so if you see me, please say hi. Until we see each other again, folks, happy playing, everyone.